Hello, everybody. Jack Hubbard here, Chairman Emeritus at St. Byron Hubbard. Welcome to Future Tech Banker. Oh, look, there's my good friend Eric Cook. Hi, Eric. Where are you today?
What's up, Jack? Hey, I'm joining you live from the convention center in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here for the Indiana Bankers Mega Conference, which is, I think, the industry's largest multi-conference track event in all of banking. So I'm doing 3 sessions down here and meeting new bankers and seeing old bankers and vendors and partners. And it's been a really cool day so far. And I got one more to go tomorrow.
Well, I'm really excited to see you. We started this program a few weeks ago, and between your travel, which is extensive, and we're feeling terribly well, you haven't been able to join us. So for everybody that has been with us for a couple of shows, Eric
Yeah.
is one of our co-hosts, and we're absolutely thrilled to have him. Eric's been around this industry for a long time, former banker, reform banker, as he likes to
Not
call himself.
recovering banker and not as long as you, Jack. Just make sure we're clear.
Between the
You've
two
been
of us,
you've been banking as long as I've been breathing. I like to say that.
yeah, I think we've got about 75 years between us in this industry, and it's a great industry. I was thinking of you the other day. I was talking to my wife, and we were reminiscing about the Perry School, which I was just up at in Michigan, and last
Yeah.
week, see you and meet your mom and dad as you were presenting, and it's been a great run for both of us. And I was telling my wife that I really have a very good sense of where banking is headed when I look at the 42 young bankers that were in my freshman class, and they're eager, they're good learners. And today we're gonna learn more. And when Eric said, "Well, geez, we
Does
don't
that
have
mean
a,"
I'm an eager fresh banker? Is that what you're saying, Jack?
you are an eager banker. I don't know how fresh you are, but uh, Eric and I said, "Well, we don't have a guest this week, but we do have a topic, and we're going to talk about that topic a little bit." But just to introduce Future Tech Banker, this was conceived by Eric and Alec Crawford, and they asked me to kind of join in every once in a while, and I'm thrilled to do that. And our goal here is to help, especially community bankers, understand where this is all headed. And what this means is technology, AI, marketing, sales, and all of those things. And we have guests every week to kind of help us. And before I ask Eric what's new with Eric, which is a lot, I'm sure, um,
Mm.
a couple of future guests that you should know about. Um, the person that I always view as one of the most innovative creatures in banking today, Chris Nichols, will be joining us in a couple of weeks.
I could have
Um,
answered that statement for you. I knew exactly who you were talking about. I just literally got done talking about him in my LinkedIn training session that I did this afternoon.
yeah,
So, Chris, if your ears are burning, it's our fault. Our apologies.
no doubt. And no relation to Chris, but somebody else is JP Nichols from
Yes.
Alloy Labs, the co-founder. What can you tell us about JP?
Oh man, I met JP even before Alloy was even a thing. He and I teach at a couple of banking schools. I actually fawned over JP when I saw him speak for the first time on this topic of fintech that was just starting to become, a thing. Lingering cough from the thing that took me off the road for a couple of weeks. But I fawned over him and was like, oh my gosh, this guy knows so much about fintech and technology and where the puck is going, to use that famous Wayne Gretzky, quote or analogy. And so I'm really excited that I now can consider him a good friend. He is an innovator. He runs a consortium that helps banks think innovatively through the Alloy Labs Alliance. And, we run the digital banking school, which is going to be rebranded as the Digital Banking Executive Program for the Graduate School of Banking, along with our good friend Joe Sullivan from Market Insights. And anytime something comes up that's fintech related, who are the players in the space, what's going on beyond digital marketing, and some of the stuff that I pay close attention to, JP is the first guy I call. And you're really going to enjoy that conversation.
It'll be great. And a lot of bankers tell me when I had my other podcast was, gee, let's get more bankers on. So we have three bankers that are going to be just awesome. DJ Cederlin is the Chief Innovation Officer at Chesapeake Bank, a community bank, couple billion. Bill Fink has been a friend for 30 years, Chief Lending Officer at Provident Bank up in New Jersey. And a lot of bankers also say, well, you talk about commercial and marketing, and that's all good. What about other areas of the bank? And we've got a good one. Jane Ladio is going to be with us, and Jane is the president of wealth management at Associated Bank. So we've got a lot of great guests coming, Eric, and I have to give a shout out to Alec Crawford and Joe McMahon at Veripath. I met them at Mega last year, and Joe was in my speech, and he said, we got to go to dinner. And so we went to dinner. It was a great dinner. And since then, I've gotten really close to him. I know you partner with him as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Veripath is just a great company.
Yep. Although I want to make sure Joe and Alec know you are my friend first. Let's just be really clear. My wife points that out because every once in a while, one of her colleagues will find out we both are into heavy metal or into bicycling, and then we'll have more in common and we'll go to concerts together. And she's like, but he was my friend first. So, but yeah, I agree 100%. Veripath's been awesome. And Alec and Joe are great people, as well as the rest of the team there. So cool.
Well, you are on the road as much as Waldo. We can't find you. And so I guess the first question I want to ask you about is, what's new with you? Where have you been? What are you doing? What are you seeing?
Yeah. So probably one of the coolest things that I'm excited to announce, we kind of, you call it a soft launch or whatever the case is, but over the last couple of years, we've been spending a lot of time doubling down on helping bankers understand artificial intelligence. It's a huge issue. And I have a little bit of deja vu in that regard, because when I left the world of banking in 2007 and decided I wanted to go play on the other side of the desk, I was one of the few in the industry that understood banking, compliance, risk, regs, technology, culture. But I also then jumped into the world of digital marketing, starting an agency in the WSI Global Network. So I knew both sides, and it was very much a cultural shift. We don't want to be on Facebook. We don't want our lenders on LinkedIn. We don't want to be in an environment where we can't control the conversation. What if somebody says something bad about us? What if somebody posts something? But you can't control that. You just have to show up and be a good person, be a good bank, be a good organization, and trust that the universe is going to reward you for what you're doing. That fast forward to, I don't know if we want to be an AI. That tarnishes our brand voice. It makes us sound like a robot. Our employees don't want to embrace it because it's going to take their jobs. All of the reasons personified as to why AI is a scary thing. I heard when I started helping banks get over that fear and lean into and leverage social media. So we have launched communitybanking.ai as a dedicated initiative between Robert Mitchell, who's our chief AI officer, and Josh Houston. Josh Houston. His name's not Jeff. Josh Houston, who's our primary AI architect that runs a team. And we are working with banks and organizations in the financial space, helping them not just play with the tools, but understand the mindset shift. And I think anybody that you listen to in the AI space these days will tell you there's much more of a change management, leadership, culture struggle than it is a technology one. We can find a technology, we can do our due diligence, we can lock it down and secure it and make sure we've got firewalls and filters and masking for data. But if the staff's not willing to lean into it through aha moments and they see how they think differently, so that is something that I'm super excited. We're going all in on that. Doesn't mean we're leaving the world of digital. We're still building bank websites and doing digital marketing and search and social and all that stuff. But I think this is a real opportunity and I'm really excited. So been doing some traveling, got a little sick, which is weird. I'm fine. Just got kind of a nasty head cold, took me out of commission. Had to sell a third row ticket to a Duran Duran concert in Las Vegas because I couldn't travel. That was probably one of the most terrible times, I guess, over the last couple of months, but I guess that's a first world problem as well. So it is what it is. But I'm excited to be in Indiana and got an event for Michigan bankers next week. And then I'm off to WSI's global convention in Mexico and going to meet with one of our other future guests, Angie Carroll from Fort Wayne, who's an amazing AI innovator and thought leader. So I'm going to spend some time with her. She's one of our guests at our global convention. So life is great, man. I'm happy. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, a couple of things, and playing a lot of golf, which is
Good for you.
what to do in the spring and summer. So I'm doing a lot of that. I feel great. A lot of people call and say, "Hey, how's your health?" Given my prostate cancer journey and all that, feel fantastic. The things that are going on with me are twofold. I spent a lot of time in the classroom, trained about 80,000 bankers over my career. And one of the things that banks keep calling and saying, well, I don't want a one-day program. I don't want a long contract. But what I'd like you to do is to come in and give me a little LinkedIn and a little bit of sales question, a little bit of this. So I've designed a program called Checkup from the Neck Up 26, which is a takeoff on the old Zig Ziglar line, Checkup from the Neck Up. And I'm going around to banks, whether it's virtually or face to face, and doing one-day programs and breakout sessions and things like that. But the most exciting thing for me is we've just done a soft launch as well of a program called AI Navigator, which is taking call planning. Bankers don't plan very well. Either they don't have time, they don't know how to do it, they don't trust the data, or they can't make any connectivity between the research that they do. They click all these buttons, and the strategy. So we've put together, working for 2 years with Bob St. Meyer and Ron Buck, for 2 years putting this thing together. And in less than 2 minutes, a banker will have a full and complete call plan, complete with research, complete with strategies, complete with power questions, complete with lots of other things. And so we piloted this at 3 banks, millions of dollars in new opportunities. And bankers are getting second calls more than 50% of the time. The average is 17% because they're intriguing the buyer. They're making sense. They're working with the buyer. So I'm really excited about that. Again, soft launch. It's coming out soon. It's working. And really excited about that. The other thing that I'm really excited about is to see you at Mega, because I think, there's a lot of great conferences out there, but from a state conference perspective, Mega is about the best of the best. And what I wanted to do today, based on your idea, is to talk a little bit about maybe 3 stages of a conference. So let's start by talking about what you do before the conference. You go to a lot of bank conferences and non-bank conferences.
Yes,
Let's do this in two ways, because there could be non-bankers watching. I'm a
absolutely.
non-banker. I'm going to a conference. What are some things I need to do before? I'm a banker going to a conference. What do I need to do before? And I got to tell you, I've spoken at a lot of conferences too. And one of the fascinating things to me is how bankers hang by themselves. They stay in their hotel room. They order room service, and they spent thousands of dollars to go to these conferences, and they're recluses. So talk a little bit about that prep stage.
Yeah. And I don't know as if it's really that different between a bank conference and a non-bank, or a banker versus a non-banker. I kind of got inspiration on this. I saw another example of someone that put together like a prep guide, but it was over on the Salesforce side. I'm like, God, that's a really good idea. And I always thought that this would be something cool to create for our banker friends. Cause like we're always at events, we see people in the room, but like you said, they're sitting with each other at the same lunch table, and they go out to dinner with themselves, and maybe a vendor will take them to dinner, but that's about it. So, like you said, I think there's 3 stages. There's before, there's during, and there's after. So when you think about the before, and I know you've got some ideas too, so we're just going to riff back and forth. I think about what is it? I mean, first off, you got to get permission or budget approval to go, and you may need to build a case for that. Some organizations, like I attended virtually, I couldn't go in person this year, unfortunately, but I attended virtually Social Media Marketing World, and it was in Anaheim, California. One of the things that Michael Stelzner over at Social Media Examiner does really well is on his conference page, he actually has an email template that you can download, that if you want to go to Social Media Marketing World and you're trying to convince your boss that you want to attend this event, he's created the email that you can then customize and give to your boss. And honestly, until we started talking, I didn't even have this idea. But for anybody that's listening that might be an event organizer that is wanting to get more people at your event, make it as easy for them as possible to sell their boss. This is what you're going to get. These are the people that are going to be available. Here's the opportunities for ROI. These are the lessons. Here's testimonials from people that attended last year and all the great information that they took home with them. That's a really great way to increase the odds that somebody that wants to go to your conference is actually able to go to your conference. But once you've got the permission and the approval, then it's thinking, okay, what is my primary goal? Am I going there because we're scoping out new vendors for online banking, or we need an online learning platform, or we're looking for a new card processing vendor? And then looking at the agenda, a lot of times they'll pre-publish or make an event app downloadable before the event so you can see who the vendors are, get a lay of the land of the conference exhibit hall and where those vendors are. Because if you've ever attended, as soon as you make eye contact, and the vendors are important because without the vendors, the events would never take place. So I'm not saying blow them off, but if you are very intentional of where you're going, it increases the likelihood that somebody will recognize that you're on a mission versus you get caught at a booth talking with folks and having a conversation, but delaying you from your strategic goal of these are the 5 vendors. I just saw one of our clients. He said he talked to today 16 vendors, 14 of them they're already doing business with. Just wanted to check in, reinforce how are things going, and then 2 brand new ones because he's vetting new services. But you know darn well he had that layout. He knew where the booths were. He had intention. And this was his one day at Mega. It's a 2-day event. He's not coming back tomorrow. So he had to be very intentional and still managed to sit in a couple of sessions. So know your goal, put the plan together. Those are like the 1 or 2 things to get started. I'm going to lob that ball back over the net to you and see what some of the suggestions you might have. We can keep rolling.
You know, and Mega is it's a balanced conference. It's a horizontal conference. It's not vertical. In other words, it's not Social Media Marketing World. It is a very general conference. There's lots of speakers, lots of different tracks. There's even a director track. And so one of the things that if I was going to go to an event, and I always tell bankers this, before you go to follow up before you go. And what I mean by that is go to your colleagues inside the bank. If you've earned the right and get the high privilege of going to Mega or the One Conference or whatever the case might be.
ICB Live or annual convention or the ABA, one of those big events even, which is even more daunting. Absolutely.
Go to your colleagues inside the bank. Go to the head of commercial. First of all, it's good for visibility internally. Go to the head of commercial, the head of retail, the head of, and say, look, I'm going to the Mega Conference. Here's a few of the speakers. Here's some vendors. Anything that I can do to pick anything up for you. And when I go to a conference as a consultant, I'll call 4 or 5 clients and I'll say, hey, I know you're not in Indiana, but I'm going to Mega. Anything I can pick up for you. Well, that's a nice thing for them to do. It creates a lot of camaraderie inside the organization. Yep. It positions you very well. And it allows you to pick up stuff that can benefit other areas of the bank, not just your area. So I really like that.
Yeah.
Most conferences now, and I'm starting to learn how to use them, have an app that you can download. I think the other thing to do is you get the app as soon as you possibly can and go through the vendors, go through the speakers, go through the other bankers, and it allows you to connect with them, Eric, I
Yeah.
don't know why more bankers don't do that.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think that's a great idea. Great idea. A little OCD, and it doesn't happen when I go to banking conferences because usually I'm speaking and I don't get there for the whole event. But when I go to Social Media Marketing World or another non-bank conference that I love to go to is MACON, which is the Marketing AI conference put on by the folks at SmarterX and the Marketing AI Institute. I will go through the agenda, I'll go through the app, and I'll find the sessions that I want to attend. And then I will pre-create a Google Doc that I make available on my tablet that has the events that I'm going to be at, the speaker that's there, the room that they're going to be in, and there's an empty bullet point right at the beginning. And I use the formatting. So I've got H1s and H2s. So it automatically can create me a navigatable table of contents, which is really, really easy to do. And a lot of people miss that. Even in Microsoft Word, you can do the same thing. But then I can have pre-configured, it helps me kind of keep track, because that's one of the challenges that I think you have, at least I do, is when you're at an event that has multiple tracks going on, there is such a degree of FOMO. Like, I want to see this one, but I also want to see this one. I don't know which one to go to. You just have to make a decision and commit. And a lot of the events will produce recordings or make those available afterwards. So you may be able to still consume some of that. So then you need to decide which one of these speakers do I want to see live. And the only way that you would really know that is if you've done a little research, you've watched some of their videos, you've checked them out on TikTok, or maybe they've got a YouTube channel. And you're like, this is a really energetic speaker. I want to see her in person. Mari Smith, Mari, is one of those personalities, and she knows everything and anything there is to know about Facebook. Even if I'm not super eager on learning about Facebook, I will make an effort and a real attempt to make sure that I sit in her session, because she is just such a lovely person and does an amazing job of presenting. It's just a real treat to be in her session. So, but have that all organized, and that is above and beyond. I'll talk about my plod note here in just a little bit, but that was another one. So do you have another pre-event activity that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I think that, and you could talk about this a little bit because you just did this in your LinkedIn session. What about your digital presence? How do you make sure before you go to an event, and why should you, before you go to an event, make sure that that social media presence is as good as it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it depends on why you're going there. Obviously, if you're presenting like Jack or I, or you have an opportunity to be part of a panel discussion, there may be other people who would want to connect with you afterwards. And not to say that you're doing it just because vendors are always going to want to connect with us, but there may be an opportunity for you to build your network with some other folks that want to continue to learn from you. So they're going to want to just, is it easy to connect? Does the personality and the profile and the look and the appearance give me a warm fuzzy? Or did that person that I just heard on stage totally not match the LinkedIn profile because there's no cover photo and it hasn't posted in the last 3 months? And what's up with that? But even building up some thought leadership content or having engagement with some of the speakers, where maybe you're posting and mentioning them. Hey, I'm super excited to be at the mega conference. I'm going to connect with Tim Dively over at CLA. I'm going to listen to his not social media, his AI session this morning. So you kind of build some pre and that conversation. And so when somebody then visits you, it just seems like you've got that engagement, that interest. And then there's some other stuff on there that might teach them and pull them in to give you an opportunity to connect. So what about some of your ideas around building your digital presence? I know you talk about this all the time.
Well, I'm big on, because you can get the app ahead of time and you do know who's going to be there. For those people that you're not connected with that you want to, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Because when you connect with someone out of context, they're less likely to connect with you. So it's, hey, Eric, I see you're going to the mega conference. I'm going to be there as well. Love to catch up with you for coffee or see you in the event space or whatever the case might be. So I
Yep.
think that's really important. Make
Yeah.
sure that your background is just your profile, the photo, the background, your headline. Because when I reach out to you and I say, "Hey, I'd like to connect with you," you'll look at my profile. It's the first thing in. Jesus, I doesn't have a photo. Doesn't have a background. This guy's no. What? Why is he connecting with me?
Yeah.
I think you want to make sure that that digital presence is as strong and as vital as it possibly could be. I
Yep.
wanted to ask you a question, and I think this is true of bankers and non-bankers who go. When I go to a conference and I'm going to speak, the first entity I look for is client. I want to go through the whole list and I want to say, I want to see my clients. I want to
Oh yeah.
make sure that I don't ignore my clients. That's
Yep.
really important. And the second thing is, okay, who are some prospects? In a banker's perspective, it's okay, who are some other bankers that I normally wouldn't connect with? Indiana, big state. I'm in
Yep.
Fort Wayne. Somebody's in Evansville. I'd love to chat with them because their bank might be doing some good things. And so who
But not out of my back door, so it's not a competitor.
right.
Exactly.
Who can I set up some pre-meetings with
Yep.
so that I know going into the conference, okay, I've got dinner with Eric on Monday. What is this? Wednesday. I got dinner with Eric on Tuesday. I'm going to play in the golf outing, and I want to see Jim for a drink after that, and I want to see Mary for breakfast on Thursday, on Wednesday rather, Thursday. Um, how does that work for you? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. Sometimes it's, hey, let's just make sure we're connected through text message, because the day for me sometimes gets really fluid. You know me, I'm a little bit of a leaf blown in the wind. It depends on who pulls me where and who knows what's going on back at the office. So if I can get somebody's text, and I literally did this text message, I had my phone on do not disturb because I was presenting, came back, oh crap, oh, I'm checking in at the hotel. Okay, when do you want to be available? Stepped out of my meeting and we had a really lovely 45-minute conversation. But we prepped for that, knowing that a text is going to be the best way to track me down. And if I schedule something, that's going to, so sometimes you might need to be a little bit more fluid in nature. But that typically is the best for me, where that text message, and then if that connection doesn't happen, you've at least got their text. You can call them. You can set up a follow-up discussion. Hey, sorry, we didn't get a chance to connect. Man, it was busy, blah, blah, blah. And then you can set that as a follow-up later. But be intentional that at least the people that you want to connect with, know you want to connect with them. So
I'll add one more thing on the prep, and then we can go to while you're there.
yep.
Uh,
I want to talk about QR codes, but we'll do that right after yours.
all right.
And then we'll go to there. Yes.
The thing that I want to talk about is safety. There are wives, daughters, single women that go to these conventions. They go alone. I would say know the city before you go.
Yep.
Where you are, the Marriott, the Westin, that convention center, it's a very safe area of a very safe city, Indianapolis. But
Yeah.
things happen. So where should I go to dinner? Is it walking distance? Should I go at night? What are some things I should be considering around that? And when I started training, my very first training session, I'll never forget this. It was one of those full pause that keeps you up at night. And it was 35, almost 40 years ago. And a woman in Cleveland raised her hand, and it was my first training session. So I'm just trying to get through the damn material. And she said, what considerations should I give around safety when I go into someone's office? And I blew it off. I said, well, sit down and know where the door is. I mean, it was almost flippant.
Yeah.
But now that I have a daughter who goes to other offices and was in New York, et cetera, and a wife who, when I'm on the road, is by herself, I'm way more sensitive to those kinds of things. So
Yep.
know the city, know where you should and shouldn't go. How much are the cabs? How close is it to the airport? And all those little logistic things. Do that before you
Yeah.
go, Eric, and not when you get to the city.
Well, and what I would also suggest, especially so for two things, and not to say that something bad couldn't happen to a guy, but most of the time, let's face it, it's probably a woman that's going to get targeted. So make sure you're aware of your surroundings, travel in groups so you're not walking in an unfamiliar area. I make a really conscious, intentional thought when I'm at the Graduate School of Banking, because I teach there in Madison. And, we go out, we're at Wando's or we're down on State Street and we're having fun. And it's, 11:30, 12 o'clock. And someone's like, I'm done, I'm out. I will make sure I will walk her back. I will say, and it's not to be the creepy, I'm happily married. That's not why I'm walking a woman back to their dorm room, but I am walking that individual back. And even if they say, oh, don't worry about it, I've walked it 1,000 times, I'm going to say no. And for the gentlemen that are listening to this, you need to step up and you need to look for those signs and to be that person that says, no, I'm going to. It's like somebody wants to take their car home and they've had too much to drink. Even if you, pardon my French, even if you got to be a dick about it, you're going to take the keys from that person and make sure they don't drive. You need to do the same thing, because even in Madison, Wisconsin, we've talked about Macon, which is in Cleveland, but there were a couple of spots and there were some people roaming around that were homeless that even made me uncomfortable. And I was with 3 other dudes. And so take the initiative to make sure that we protect each other. It's a really important thing. And I hadn't even thought of that. You're going to totally make my QR code thing seem like, nothing now, but
no, it's cool. It's important.
It's a really good point. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Jack. So, what I would say, and I don't know how many folks that are listening are even aware that you can do this, but inside of your LinkedIn app, if you do this before you go, you're not going to struggle when you get there. Practice, play with it. Pull up your LinkedIn app on your phone, tap on the search, like you're going to look for somebody or look for a company. And underneath the search over to the right, you're going to see this little block that kind of looks like a QR code. It doesn't really. I mean, come on, LinkedIn, you can do a better job of that. But that's going to give you a screen that's going to look like this. This is a QR code I have printed on all of my business cards. I have it in all my slides. You can download this to your phone. You can have this available. So if you want to connect with people, you can say, hey, do you have the LinkedIn app on your phone? Let's swap business cards that way. And they're going to be like, what? I didn't know you could do that. And you are going to blow their mind. You're going to be the cool, innovative banker that knows all the tricks on the phone, even if you're completely a digital immigrant and you have no idea what you're doing. That's going to make you look like a LinkedIn rock star. Boom, scan, and then immediately send them a message to say, hey, it was great meeting you at Mega this year. So glad we were able to connect. Look forward to talking soon. I do that because I drop in the reference to Mega so that 6 months from now, when that person that I never talked to or we forgot to, and they send me a note and they're like, hey, can we hop on a call? And I'm like, where did I meet this person and how do I know them? You have that thread inside of your messages. Oh, that was Mega in 2026. I remember now. Maybe even throwing a little clue as to what you talked about. That's a little bit more of during, but that gives you the comfortable way of weaving into that. And then lastly, pack a little battery case and a cord, because everybody runs out of juice. And I've seen it, I don't know how many times, with the person standing next to the wall with their phone plugged in and they're tied to the electricity. If you've got a little charger that you can just throw in your pocket or your purse or your bag, you've got power all day long and you don't have to worry about it. I'm at 41% right now and I've plugged in a couple of times, but it's on my battery on my time. So we are a digital world. So make sure you prepare for that. So, all right, let's go into while you're actually at the site. So we've kind of done, I think, hopefully a good job of prepping. Once you're there, what are a couple of the things that you would suggest when you are actually on site at a conference or an event, Jack? Let's start with you.
Let's start at the very beginning with registration and breakfast. I'm a big fan of getting to a location early, and I think when you go to a class reunion or a wedding reception, going in last toward the end is pretty cool because everybody's. I want to be there first. I want to scope out a really good table. I want to see, because if there's a speaker after the breakfast, I want to make sure that I'm there. But I think the other thing too, as it relates to that, is, and you alluded to it earlier, if you're going with several bankers, separate yourself, for God's sake. You've talked to them enough. Go different
But it's
people.
safe. But I know them. I don't like meeting new people.
I'm sorry. Then don't go to the darn conference, because we're social people and nobody's going to harm you or bite you or try to sell you something. Sit with other people. I think that's really important. Now, if you want to get back with your group after breakfast and say, "Oh, who'd you sit with? What did you learn? And then who are you going to go see?" So I think going to breakfast early and sitting apart from your colleagues and your buddies is really important, Eric.
Yeah, I would agree. And I mean, I get it. There's camaraderie. You've got a friendship there. Maybe you don't get a lot of social time because, yeah, you work with them, but that's work. So maybe this is enjoyable. But even if it's, you and another colleague or two, then the three of you look for a table that already has people at it. So you don't just sit at an empty table and it's now just the First National Bank or whatever table and it's just the three of you. You at least jump in on somebody else's party and get to know them. So that's a good way to at least dip your toe in the networking water as it were. So yeah, that's a great idea.
What's another one?
So yeah, I love to sit up front. Although Tim today I had to bow out for a meeting. And he normally knows that I sit up front because he usually teases me about it. And I went up to him before and I said, "Hey, just want you to know, I'm not going to be able to sit up front with you. And you know that I normally do. So it's not like you're not front row worthy, but I got to excuse myself. And I don't want the whole audience seeing me walk out on you like 10 minutes before your session's done." But normally I sit in front, and I do that because it forces me to pay attention because you're there. But I also use my tablet to take notes. It gives me the best vantage point. If I see something on the slides, I'll snap a picture and continue. So using an iPad with a camera, I've got that down to a pretty good system where I know the shortcuts and all that stuff. But the other thing that I do while I'm actually at an event, speaking of phones and technology and batteries, is I travel with this device. It's called a Plaud, Plaud, Plaud Note. It is a credit card sized voice recorder that basically, it's about literally the size of a credit card. It records the audio conversation, and then it uses artificial intelligence to transcribe that into text. And the AI agent, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, it's got a bunch of agents loaded on it. It will then analyze based off of some different profiles and summarize and provide key points and highlights of what it is that individual talked about. And so if I'm at an event, I record that. It's just for me. I don't share it with anybody. It's for my purposes only. But when I speak, I actually record, I transcribe, I summarize, and then if somebody's interested and they connect with me, I send them the files. So while my presentation is getting started, I say, "Hey, relax. I am taking notes. And if you send me an email and get in touch, I'll give you everything that I'm going to say today." Literally, you'll have a recording of it. And people just sit back and they're like, and then they can just listen and they can pay attention and just be in the moment. Not that I'm like, the best thing since sliced bread that's going to transport them to nirvana or anything, but it gives them the ability to not feel like, "Oh crap, I'm going to miss something. I didn't write that down. That was a really good idea, but what did he say?" They're getting everything directly from me. Or you can walk away and you can have that for your own purposes. And then that content is available to then be able to regurgitate, to share, to help kind of train your staff when you get back, which we'll talk about in the post. But between active listening, taking pictures, and doing the recording, I'm really serious about consumption and understanding when I go to an event.
Okay, so I see hands raised all over the United States. Plaud sounds really cool. How much does it cost? What's the monthly deal? This sounds way too good to be true.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely it is. So it's about $130. You'll pay probably 80 or $90 a year for the subscription to get a decent amount of minutes and transcription that goes along with it. We can go ahead and post a link. Full disclosure, I am an affiliate and a partner with Plod, so I do have a link that provides compensation. So I think FCC really is in favor of disclosing that, and I'm not going to hide it. I only do that when it's a product that I absolutely love and adore, and so it's one that I very much appreciate. But yeah, it's been a real game changer for me. They got a desktop app as well. You can access all of your notes on your computer. It really helps that post digestion of information, because now you've got it in a format where if you are starting to explore and play with AI, now the world is your candy store, man. You can take that stuff and do all sorts of things with it and analyze it and understand it and really apply this session to my bank. Here's my scenario. How would the things that Eric talked about with the 5 strategies of building your LinkedIn profile, and you can maximize your conference activity. That's maybe a show for another day, but it just unlocks so many doors and so much potential.
That's amazing. And
yeah,
I want to talk about the exhibit hall, because I think that's another good one to discuss. But wouldn't you also be able to, if you used Claude, I'm in the audience, okay, and I hear Eric Cook speak, and his brilliance around profiling is amazing. I want to take that back to my bank in Fort Wayne, and I'd love to post that. If I record it on Claude, I've got the transcript, and mentioning your name and tagging you and things like that. That would be a tremendous post. It wouldn't be a lot of work to do. I certainly wouldn't
absolutely
post the whole speech, but I can have AI say, I'm going to do a LinkedIn post. I'd like 1,000 characters, please. I want to focus on this. Here's the speech.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be a great thing to do?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I sit in, I want to give Jack Hubbard praise. Jack Hubbard taught me so much in this session. Here's the transcript of what Jack Hubbard said. Give me 1,000 characters, praise Jack, offer up insights, suggest things that we're going to take advantage of in the bank. This is, one of the things that I talk about on my LinkedIn training today was make it about them being your audience, who you want to influence, your ideal customer persona. It's all about who you are trying to connect with. It's not about you. So if I sat in your session or Tim's session, or I want to praise the IBA for putting this event on, these tools will help you take that, make it more relevant, and help the rest of the world benefit from what you heard, what you learned, the experience that you had. And that will make you one of the favorite attendees because you're praising other people. And at the end of the day, people love to hear their name said or typed or talked about or played by someone else. And you could be the person to do that.
Yep. That's absolutely great.
All right, let's hop in the exhibit hall. Let's grab a fresh pretzel, which I just had, by the way, which is so yummy, and take a saunter around the exhibit hall. What are some things to think about there?
Well, one of the things that's fascinating to me is when I go do a speech and I am in this exhibit hall, people are paying money for people to come and see what they do. And your point's interesting. The person that you said talked about earlier, they went to 16 different booths and 14 they were a client of. That's great. Go reconnect. But what if you're not? I'm fascinated by the bankers who go past all the exhibitors and don't make any eye contact. The exhibitor isn't going to hurt you, try to push a contract in your face. They're there to help you. I don't know what you see.
No, I would totally agree. And if you're on the way to meet with someone, I get it. But, if you don't want to talk to anybody, go around the side. Don't be that awkward, like, oh, don't want to see, don't want to pay attention. That's, spend some time. Hey, what do you do? And just, I got to get to the next one, or I'm meeting some colleagues, whatever the case is. But the events wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the vendors, because they pay a lot of money. Believe me, they pay a lot of money to be there to support the event. and to make it possible to be able to bring in the speakers and to, pay the venue. So it's a very important part of the process. And who knows, you might be surprised, if it's not the right fit for you and you're like, that's really not what we're looking for. And, if they're a good networker, I mean, they know probably a lot of the other vendors because they see each other at events. You're going to be in Ohio next week? Yep, I'll see you there. So they know what each other's doing. So you could say, hey, I'm not so sure you're the right fit, but do you know of anybody that does X, Y, Z or whatever? And they'd be like, oh yeah, you got to go check out Marie over at Pulse. Go talk to her. Yeah. We just had dinner last week down in Memphis and oh my gosh, she's amazing. So go chat with her. They could be really good connectors for you too.
And I would say that, and this isn't probably why you do it, but it could be. I get calls from bankers all the time. My job's been eliminated. Do you know of any
Oh yeah.
position? And you and I both are ex-bankers. We know a lot of ex-bankers who now are consultants. So going and meeting these people, maybe it's
Yep.
not today. Maybe your bank is bought tomorrow. Maybe you're not happy with your new boss. You go to a vendor and you say, well, tell me about your business. Well, we're really growing. We're opening an office in Cincinnati and Fort Wayne, et cetera, et cetera. Really? Tell me more about that. And you never know. Here's what you do know. You're
Yeah.
never going to get a date to the prom or get married unless somebody asks somebody to do something.
Yep.
If you don't approach someone, you may have missed a golden opportunity to have a position down the road that you could be very proud of.
Yeah. I totally agree. So, I'm going to put on my social media hat here because I feel like I need to. And you may not be a super social butterfly, and that's fine. But if you have a presence and you are participating, be intentional with capturing. And I'm saying this out loud, so I remember to do more of it tomorrow. Capture what's referred to as B-roll, as well as like the real photos. And what I mean by B-roll is, I was walking into the conference today and I was like, oh, I need to get a video of me. So it wasn't me in it, but it was just me kind of walking up into the convention hall. I had the big display with all the sponsors on it and Indiana Bankers Mega Conference. That could be a really cool just B-roll as we're creating a TikTok style video for a post event or an activity. Weave that into an Instagram or something along those lines. Capturing things that are personified of the event. I wish I would have taken video now of the pretzels because they were amazing and super salty. So I'm kicking myself, but do as I say, not as I do, folks. But then take the photos. And if you know the people, great. If you don't, hey, are you on Instagram? You got LinkedIn? And those pictures may be good in one platform or the other, or maybe both. Take a little time in between breaks, do a little posting just to share. Not that you want to make it braggadocious, but again, what can you do? Like, hey, I just sat in an amazing session with @ Hubbard and I learned so much. Thank you. And it was great to be able to capture a selfie of us at the end of your presentation. So now, yes, the post is about me being at Mega in Indiana, attending a conference, but the whole gist of it is I sat through Jack's session. Jack shared amazing info. I was able to get a picture. I love Jack. Here we go. And now you are happy. I am happy. Indiana's happy because we mentioned them for putting on the Mega Conference. Think about ways that you can bring others into your conversation and share it so that it makes it about them. You're just the creator of that.
Okay, bankers, now take what Eric said to heart, and then and
And
so if maybe you don't go to the mega conference, maybe you never go to a conference, but what you do is you go to Chamber of Commerce dinner events.
oh yeah,
There are speakers there, and most speakers aren't pompous asses. Some are, but most will not only be very kind, but appreciative that you actually went up to them afterwards and said, "Hey, Eric, I loved your speech. I am going to buy your book. By the way, you mentioned 3 things. I'm curious if you'd mind if I put that out on my LinkedIn here in the Fort Wayne community, because your message really hit home with me. And
Yep.
would you mind if I take a photo with you? Well, Eric's going to go, "Oh, well, of course, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Make sure you tag me in your post." So anything that we're talking about today around mega and going to these conferences can be very true at a business after hours or a
Oh yeah.
chamber of commerce dinner, something in your local community. Everything that Eric and I've talked about today is so true in your own hometown, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could even do a video. Hey, do you have a, can I just do like a 15-second video of you and me? Like, Jeff, I loved your stuff. Can you just restate for my connections, my audience, my followers, my community, whatever you want to call it? What was that one thing that you had said about, I just love it. Oh, sure. Absolutely. So yeah, anybody that speaks loves to speak. So they're gonna post for a picture. They're gonna get on a microphone. They're gonna be happy to do all that. So believe me. So, and I do hope somebody pauses the video and totally grabs a screenshot of me posting for. I, I just somebody's gonna rewind it, and I'm gonna see that as a meme on social media. Not that that would happen because I'm not a big enough deal for that. But anyway, so I think in the last few minutes that we've got, the event's over. Like any fun activity, it has to come to an end eventually, and it's time to go back. So once the event's over, I'm just going to jump right in and I'm going to say what I did for social media marketing world and what I'm trying to do for more of the events that I'm attending where I'm trying to be the consumer of information is block off the next day, or at least the morning of the next day. You are going to have so much information running through your head. You're going to be too whooped to do it in the evening. You're going to go out to dinner. You're going to have drinks. You're going to come back and you're going to think you're going to do it, but you're not going to do it. Mark it off and just, tell your boss, hey, I'm just going to go to Starbucks for the morning and I'm going to take all of my notes. I'm going to digest them. I'm going to download my Plod notes. I'm going to and I'm going to develop a plan so that I can take my learnings and I can sort it out and who it's beneficial for. What are the key things for different employees? And create your plan for delivery and to make sure that all of the information you just learned over the last day, 2-3 days does not just end up in a binder, whether it's a virtual one or a physical one, on your shelf collecting dust. You want to be able to take action. And when you jump in, you're going to have email, you're going to have phone calls, you're going to have, Jack, I need to talk to you. Isolate yourself and give yourself the freedom and the space to continue that learning process and to help you take it to the next level. So few people do that. And I've heard that, I don't know how many times at this event and others. It's just, this event's got so much good stuff and I just get so much good. But as soon as I go back to the bank, it's just like, shit, I just don't know how I'm going to get everything done. And it's like, you have to give yourself time block. So I just want to say that. And it's hopefully people will be able to do that. But post event, I know you've got a lot about follow up. You are the king of follow up and keeping in touch. What are some of your great tips there, Jack?
I'm fanatical about follow up, and it really starts when you come back from the event. Actually, it starts before you go.
Yeah.
I need to know what are some strategies that our bank is doing, and what speakers do I need to go to think about those kinds of things. And I always say when I teach at banking schools or do speeches, I know of a bank who does this regularly. Somebody goes to an event, the mega conference. We spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 there. Good. I want a return on my investment.
Yep.
The first thing the banker does when they come back from the event is take the next day off, to your point. And
Amen.
they go all their notes and they look for 3 things that they believe the bank can execute on. Then the next day they meet with their boss. Then they meet in the afternoon with a group of bosses. And then they speak to the president and the board, because the board and the president invested money in you. We want to know what you did. So I think that's really, really important. The other thing that I think from a follow-up perspective is follow up on LinkedIn. One of the things I love about what you do on LinkedIn is Mondays with Eric. And I got to believe next Monday with Eric is going to be a review of the mega conference. You'll probably put the video that you did somehow in it and all the rest of that. That's the follow up. And I think there's value in the community to know that I'm a banker. I posted it on LinkedIn. And if somebody in my community sees it, here's what we know. I know in the community that your bank invests in learning. I know you have learned
Yep.
something because you've just said it. Here are the speakers you went to. So I think follow up with on LinkedIn. And I also think that if there's a speaker that you thought was really good, don't be embarrassed. My very first book that I read when I started St. Meyer and Hubbard was The Trusted Advisor by Charles Green. And I reached out to Charlie after I read the book, and I thought he'll never respond back to me. Charlie reached out via email. We talked many years. We've become very good friends. People want to talk to you. So I think follow up on LinkedIn and follow up with the attendees, the vendors, and the speakers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think looking for any other event shadow. And what I mean by that is, are there conversations that got started, or did you do a post where somebody commented that maybe you didn't have time to get back and reply to their comment, even if it's just a thanks or, yeah, I agree. If the event's got a hashtag, search for the hashtag, dig in, see if you can find maybe some other conversations that you might have missed. And if you've got an idea or can add something of value, even if you're not at the event, even if it's a week from now, go back and go, man, I can't believe it's been a week since we were all together in Indianapolis. Man, that was really great. What I heard Jack talk about, or what I heard Tim talk about, or what I heard whoever talk about still resonates in my brain. I still use it. I'm still trying to get. So you don't have to do it like instantaneously. You can still reference back to it and bring it back to relevance. And the event organizer will certainly appreciate that. I mean, imagine if it's a month from now and I celebrate the 1 month anniversary of Mega and I tag the Indiana bankers and a handful of people that I met here. How happy is the IBA going to be when I bring relevance back to them, talking about the industry's largest multi-day cross divisional, event, that's got nothing but positivity behind it. So,
and I want to follow up on what you said there about the conference organizers. There's people in Michigan, for example. When I spoke in Michigan, I taught in Michigan. I got back Monday night. You're kind of tired, but I right away before I went to bed, I wrote my follow-up note to Rand Painter and Stephanie Fisher. Lori Reese does a great job at IBA. And if
she walked by a little bit ago and I was waving, I don't know if you saw me, but she didn't see. Yeah, that was Lori. And yep.
But if you want to get involved in committees, if you want to enhance your own career, one way to do that is to get to know those trade association folks, because there's a lot of committees that you might be able to get on.
Oh, sure.
The reason I'm very convinced that the reason that I'm here today, what I'm doing, is a guy named Tom Franklin. Tom dragged me in, this was probably in 1975, to a bank marketing association event that I didn't want to go to. And he said, no, you're coming with me. We're going to this dinner. I ended up going through the chairs, becoming president of that. And here I am. So there are people that if you would just reach out to them and thank them, and that's not, you don't do it because you're trying to manipulate them. You do them because you truly appreciate what they did. And you have to understand that Lori Reese at IBA, after Chris Bennett retired, has spent thousands of hours making sure that everything is working well. The least anybody can do is to reach out and say, hey, Lori, that was a great event. I know you worked your ass. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Chris Bennett does have a retirement open house little reception that I'm fortunate. I'm gonna, unless we talk for another 25 minutes, which I think we're pretty close to being done, I'm going to get to go see Chris. I will make sure that she knows that both her and Lori were mentioned on Future Tech Banker today. And
give her my best.
Absolutely. So that kind of puts a bow on this. Man, we covered a ton of stuff. I'm sure there's things, if you are listening to this and there's something that you have found to be super helpful, wear comfortable shoes, take a sweater if you get cold, make sure you drink water to stay hydrated. Some people like to, how high can I get my step count? Sometimes people are I have 15,000 steps. Oh my God. Just imagine all the people that I met over the course of today's, session. But a conference is a great activity. And I think one of the things, maybe to bring this to a close, when I attended Social Media Marketing World virtually, of course, I really wanted to be there in person because there's things that you can't get from a virtual event. I took great notes. I was able to capture lots of info, but I missed the exhibit hall. I missed the spontaneous conversations at the drinking fountain or the pretzel stand or going downtown. There is, despite as amazing as AI is, there is a trend that a lot of the speakers said that being in person with another human being is going to become even more valuable in the coming months and years because AI produces so much information and can give us so much knowledge. We're going to crave getting that from another human as opposed to even a pre-recorded fancy looking avatar. We want to feel that human connection. And there are initiatives underway where nightclubs where you put your phone in a sleeve and you don't have it and you're forced to disconnect from technology and just enjoy the evening and enjoy each other and go out and have dinner and a drink and just chat. So lean into these events. They are filling to the soul. They can give you a lot of info. You can meet other people that who knows where that relationship will take you, and meet some lifelong friends. And if it wasn't for a conference, you and I would have never met.
That's correct.
And that would have sucked.
Yeah, that would have sucked. Yeah,
so
it'll become a lifetime friend, and you never know where this can go. I'll let you wrap this up, but I would just
I think
say,
I just did for me. So you go ahead.
All right, I'll wrap it up. So here's the other thing: be really careful. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a young banker back in the early 1970s, not the 1870s, but the 1970s.
Back when Eric was 3 years old.
We played softball. And the bank sponsored our softball. What do you do after softball? You go have a beer. We weren't crazy. We didn't drink a lot, but we were wearing the bank uniforms. So the president the next morning calls me into the office and said, "Did you win the softball game?" I said, "Yeah, we did, Mr. Arnold. Thank you very much." He said, "Did you enjoy your beer?" I said, "Why do you ask that?" He said, "Well, you were seen at the bar." He said, "Let me tell you this." He said, "We'll sponsor the team. You can wear the uniform, but when you go to the bar, take the uniform off. Put a different shirt on. Because you are representing the bank." My point is, when you go to Indianapolis and you go out to dinner, there's cameras everywhere. There's people everywhere. Not that you're going to be falling down drunk or do anything stupid, but just by being in a particular location may put you in a very bad way. I got to give props to my great friend, Eric. He put all these notes together. This is absolutely fabulous. Sure, it's probably more than the 20 minutes that normal podcasting should do. But the goal of this program is not 20 minutes and a lot of likes. It's, can we help somebody? So
absolutely.
Thank you for joining. Thank you, my friend. Next week, Chris Nichols. Don't forget that. And we'll see you on the flip flop. Thanks, Eric.
Sounds cool. Thanks for being part of the Future Tech Banker family. See you next time.